Hi, good afternoon. We're here with David Lamb from Applied Psychologies. How are you doing, David?
Yeah, very well, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks very much for joining us today.
No
Looking
problem.
forward to the interview. So if you'd like to tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
Yeah, no worries. I'm Dr. David Lamb. I'm an educational psychologist and the co-founder of Applied Psychologies. We're an educational psychology service that provides support to around 170 schools across the north of England. We've got bases in sort of Yorkshire and Humber area, northwest, and in Stockton area as well. And we're a team of about 27 professionals, psychologists at different stages of their career. They've got some assistant psychologists, some trainees, some qualified, and some on senior leadership. We've also got some specialists as well. So we have some speech and language therapists, occupational therapists, and advisory teachers. And we provide support for children and young people, their families, and teaching staff within schools and settings. And we can't capture our role. We kind of work at three different levels within schools. We maybe work at an individual level where we may do assessments and consultations around young people, supporting their learning and cognition needs, their social, emotional, mental health, communication and interaction needs, and physical or sensory needs. So we work very closely with children, their families and staff to sort of gather information, formulate hypotheses as to what's going on for a young person, and then work closely to put plans in place, which we then monitor and review over time. We also work at a group level, so we may work at a whole class level, thinking about how we're supporting the dynamics of a classroom, or it may be groups of staff that we're working with on a particular theme. It could be around behaviour or literacy skills, or how we promote children's social and emotional skills. Work closely with parents as well. And then we sometimes work at what we call an organisational level, where we would maybe work with senior leaders of a school, thinking about their policies within school, thinking about the training needs of their staff, so that we can empower them really with knowledge and ideas to help them support children in school.
Fantastic, interesting work. And it sounds like there's a good team of you. 20 odd, did you say there?
Yeah, about 27. We were initially just educational psychologists, but then through conversations with our schools, what we realized was there was a need for some specialist knowledge as well. And we now hold like clinic sessions where schools can commission some time to speak to relevant specialists if they've got concerns about maybe a young person. So we've become much more multi-agency the last few years, which is great because it means we can provide a lot more services to our schools and provide a more rounded approach to our service delivery.
Fantastic. So something that has had still ongoing in terms of effects to society and schools, children, was obviously lockdowns and the pandemic and things like that. What was the biggest impact for you guys? I suppose it could be twofold, as a business, as an organization, and obviously of the people that you help.
Yeah, it was a challenging time. Although schools didn't close because they were still open to support children of key workers, outside agencies like ourselves weren't able to go into schools, and the majority of our work is spent in schools, working closely with teaching staff and children. So we had to act very quickly because we operate a model with our schools where they commission so much time and we deliver that over the course of the year. So we thought, right, what we're going to do in this situation. So we very quickly shifted everything online. So we was able to run lots of consultations online, supervisions with staff, parent consultations. We developed lots of training sessions and training modules, supported schools in helping them think about how to respond to the pandemic as well, and how they could support families and children. So the great thing about psychologists, we're great problem solvers, or we like to think we're great problem solvers. And this was a problem both in terms of service delivery, but then also how can we manage the business needs as well. So yeah, very quick to shift everything online. And I was really proud of our team, to be fair, because they didn't wait to think, oh, they were very proactive in having conversations with schools, asking questions. How can we help? What do you need from us at this time? And through that, we kind of came out of COVID. If we are coming out of it, it's still around.
Yeah.
But we came out of that sort of period still in quite a really good shape from a business perspective, and maintaining lots of relationships with our schools and settings.
Great, thank you for that share.
Yeah.
So a couple of actions that sort of you took, I'm assuming moving online and the technological aspects, is that still something that you're carrying on with? Like, obviously you will be going back into face-to-face contact, but has it been a balance? Has it shifted?
Yeah, it's a great question. What it has done, I think it helps us realize that we can provide services in different ways. It doesn't always have to be face-to-face. So we've moved now towards a much more blended way of working, combining both face-to-face visits and virtual appointments as well. And that's helped on for two reasons, I think. One is, as a company, with trying to be more climate aware and thinking about how we're reducing our mileage, because educational psychologists and other agencies are forever in our cars going from one school to the next school. So by working in this way, obviously we're reducing our carbon footprint in some way. The other thing it's done is it provided more choice, I think, for those who we're working with. So families in particular, some families find it difficult to come into schools for a number of reasons to meet with us. And so by offering them an opportunity to have a Zoom call or a Teams call or a telephone call, it's provided them with much more autonomy for how they want to work with us. And ultimately, our role is to try and find out about children and young people from those who know them best. So the more conversations we can be having about children, the better our formulation of a child's strengths and needs are. So by giving parents and teaching staff that choice, it's provided much more autonomy, and I think that's really helpful, that we're giving our service users much more choice over how they work with us.
Great, thank you for that. So in terms of what the future looks like, as much as, I mean, no one has a crystal ball and there's lots of things going on in the world right now, what does the future look like for you guys as a business, and what do you see the main challenges are that you can predict? Yeah,
in terms of the future, I'm really excited for our business, because we've recently become an employee-owned company. So it's been sort of a process for the last 2 years, but Dr. Johnny Craig, who I co-founded the business with, we've sold the majority of our shares of the business to create an employee ownership trust, so that the majority shareholder is now the employees. And this is sort of an exciting model for us moving forward, because it's going to give our employees within the team much more of a say in how the business is run, through board meetings and trust level meetings. But also from a financial perspective, if the business grows and is successful, then the employees will benefit from that, because obviously they're now the majority shareholders. So we're hoping through the process of moving to employee owned, it's going to make our company much more resilient. It's going to bring us even closer together. It's going to help us create more shared ethos and a shared vision for this next chapter. So because we've just celebrated our 10th birthday. Yeah, where's that time gone? Yeah.
Happy birthday and congratulations for doing 10 years.
Yeah, thank you. We look back, because Johnny and I, we laugh that our first business plan was written on the back of a McDonald's napkin. So to think that we've gone from that 10 years ago to now becoming an employee-owned company, it's been some journey, and we work with great people, and by bringing more of their voices into the mix and helping them shape the next chapter of applied psychology, it's really exciting. In terms of challenges, we've always, as a service, we've always had this sort of chicken and egg kind of difficulty with growth and recruitment. And I'm sure other sort of consultation-based services would find this, in that we want good quality staff to come work with us, but we need the schools in order to make sure that they've got the work and we can fulfill their time. But in order to get schools, we need the staff. So we've kind of sometimes we've had to take some risks and hire people and think that because of our brand and because of the quality work that we try to do, that will spread and we'll be able to find work for members of staff. And we've also took chances where we've worked with schools and said, we will work with you from this date, and then really focused our recruitment drive on meeting the school's needs. It's always been a bit chicken and egg. And so I'm working closely with our director of business now, so that we've got kind of a shared timeline of how our recruitment strategy and our growth strategy will work together. So yeah, I'm hopeful that will be prosperous in the future. What we have done recently is, because of recruitment, particularly where I'm based, so I live in Hull, and recruitment of educational psychologists to this part of England has been challenging. So we've started a process of trying to grow our own, as it were. So we now hire assistant psychologists with the view of giving them a great experience, lots of opportunities to learn, helping them achieve a doctorate place, because to become an educational psychologist, you now have to do a 3-year doctorate course. Bring them back as trainees when they're sort of during their placement, with the view that we can then retain them, hopefully retain them when they qualify. So there's got this pathway. So we've tried to work on this doctorate pathway from assistant right the way through to qualified, with the hope of growing our staff base. And that's gone really well in recent years. So we're at a position now where we've got assistant, we've got members of staff who are in their first year, their second year, and now their third year of training. So what we want to do is keep that going, but then replicate it in other parts of the country as well. So a similar thing going in the Northwest and a similar thing in the Northeast. Because that, what again, was a problem for us in the past. We thought, how can we resolve this and how can we create long-term plans? And at the moment, it seems to be working quite well.
Yeah, good stuff. Good example of entrepreneurial thinking and resilience, and thinking outside the box. So like that, thank you, good share. So moving on to yourself as a business owner then, in terms of a learning that you could pick out of the many that I'm sure you've had, what would be your biggest one, do you think?
Yeah, I would imagine a lot of people answer this by saying focus on your passions, and that has to be up there. You have to love what you do, you have to be interested in what you do. I think for me it's about working with people who you enjoy working with as well. So I was very fortunate that the member of the colleague Johnny, who I trained with and met at university, we sort of co-founded and built a company together, and we got on very well, and we kind of complement each other's strengths. We have a very sort of similar view on how psychology should be applied within schools. So that's really helpful. It's interesting because he lives in Liverpool and I live in Hull. So people have often thought, how does that work? And we've always sort of said we're the M62 psychologists that we used to meet in Leeds, in the early days. So I think, working with people who you get on with and who you trust, I think is really important. I think just being open to asking lots of questions. I know when we set up Applied Psychologies, we didn't know a great deal about business, but we asked people who had run businesses or who had been successful in business, and just asked some fundamental questions about how do we do sort of banking, finance, creating marketing strategy, and all of those sorts of things. And I think what the best thing to do over time is to keep reflecting on your business and keep thinking, how would our business benefit, how would our business grow if we got the right people in place? So a few years ago, we started working with, started employing sort of people from the business world to come in and look at us as a whole and how we can move that forward. So I think that's been really helpful. I think the other thing as well is there will be some doubters potentially, and some negative voices. And I think it's just about ignoring those. If you believe in what you do, and I always love to hear about people who set a business up or who are having a go at setting up a business, because it is some journey, it is some challenge, and I think people are very brave as well to do it. And so, yeah, I think it's about just keeping going, and if you believe in what you do, you'll get there in the end.
Good stuff. Good advice, and thank you for that. So, asking about advice that you would potentially give someone who is younger, or perhaps yourself at 18 starting out in business. I mean, you have reflected a little bit on that, but is there anything else that you'd like to share in hindsight that would potentially be useful?
Yeah, I think just go for it, and just listen to a lot of people. I think is key. You know, be open, ask questions, and don't be scared to change your direction if other opportunities become available. When we set up Applied Psychologies, we thought we could very much work in lots of sectors, and we had all these grand plans, but then we quickly realized that we were very good in one particular area, and that was the area we needed to focus on first, and then to maybe branch out. So I think it's being very clear on what it is you want to achieve, what it is you want to do, what will make you happy in your work. Because when you work for yourself, it's you know, there are some lonely times. Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about the highs and how things are going, but there are those times as well where it's a challenge. So I think really focusing on what you want to do, and imagining the possibilities as well. Be open to them, and have that clear vision in mind. Yeah, and like I said earlier, work with people you enjoy working with.
Good stuff. Thank you. So, in terms of where you are now and inspiration, I mean, I can sort of almost feel the inspiration that you potentially use, but I don't want to preempt that. What's currently inspiring you? It might be podcasts or books you read, or people that you work with, simply what you do and why you do it, that kind of thing. But yeah, if there's any inspiration you'd like to share, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I've thought a lot about this. I think because I'm very fortunate to work in an industry where I get to support children and young people, and I think my first inspiration comes from children that I've had involvement with, and just seeing that by getting the right support in place and by building a team around a young person, working with schools and families, and key people around them, the progress children can make. And I think that inspires me to keep going in the work that I do. So there's a real inspiration there. Similarly, seeing the change or growth that within teaching staff and parents is a real inspiration. I think other inspirations I have from members of our team. The work that they do in schools is inspirational. You know, people are changing the way in which schools are doing things on a daily basis for the benefit of children and young people, which I think is really powerful. I've just started today actually on our WhatsApp message, sort of a October appreciation kind of theme, and I just want to hear from everyone and the positive comments that they're receiving from our service users as well. And so that's lovely to capture those. I think there's a great community of educational psychologists on Twitter, hashtag Twitter EPS. And again, it's people sharing their successes and the work that they're doing, but they're also great in providing support for those who've maybe got challenges in their work or at different stages of their career. And there's a lovely community that's been established on Twitter. In terms of outside of work, I'd say I love reading sporting autobiographies, and whether it particularly individual sports people and where they were and how they got to where they have got to, and just really understanding the team around them that maybe don't get the limelight on the telly or hearing on radio, but just understanding the amount of people that contribute to an individual's success. So I love reading sporting autobiographies. And I've started listening a little bit to the Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO podcast as well. I know they're pretty popular at the minute, and he's got some major people on there. And just again, listening to their stories. From a young age, I think I always liked spending time with older people because I just like listening to their stories and what's happened in their lives. And I think that's probably where I take my inspiration.
Good stuff. Thank you. Great shares there. So lastly, before we wrap up, if there's any latest news around your business that you'd like to share, or perhaps a website you might want to direct people to, anything like that, feel free to let us know.
Yeah, so to coincide with our 10th birthday, what we are doing next week actually is sort of an online celebration event where we're showcasing some of the work that we do at Applied Psychologies. I think tickets have gone pretty fast, and it is a free event for people, and we're looking at putting a session on for aspiring psychologists to showcase how we work with educational trusts and groups of schools together, how we support children with their emotions, and considering how schools use different behaviour policies as well. So there's a full day of different events next week, which will be really exciting. That's the 12th of October. We're also very keen to promote our learning exchange, which is on our website, appliedpsychologies.com. And this learning exchange just consists of lots of blog articles or upcoming events, again, detailing some of the work that we do at Applied Psychologies. We're very keen this year to become much more thought leaders within the field. And so that one of my roles this year is going to be talking to members of our team about the work that they're doing and the impact that will have for the schools they're working with, but the wider impact as well in the profession. So there's some really interesting articles there at the Learning Exchange, which is also on appliedpsychologies.com.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. It sounds really, really interesting. I hope everything, goes from strength to strength for you, and you continue to help as many people as you can. Thank you, David.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks for having me.